Hello, everyone. It's Andrew.vittoria with Keller Williams Coastal. I am your realtor here in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. You ever looked at a piece of property and said, I wonder what that's worth? Well, as you might imagine, I get that question all the time being a real estate agent. And I get it from a lot of folks who just want to know. They're just curious. Gee, I wonder what that's worth. So I have a methodology for going ahead and starting that process of understanding what it might be worth. And notice I said a methodology, not the methodology. In real estate, there are a very large number of ways to evaluate what a property might be worth. And there's no one right way to do it. There's no one wrong way to do it. There's a lot of different ways that have varying levels of success. And what I've done is I've built something that does help out a lot of folks. It gives us some clarity, and it's one methodology I like to apply in the very beginning. And I thought I'd share it with everybody today. I am a price strategy advisor, which is a certification I got to help my clients price properties more accurately. I've had to go through classes to get that and keep the certification. And this is something that I kind of put together after going through those classes, and I thought all of you might like to see it. So without further ado, let me show you what I've built for you today. Okay, so here are the closed sales for Bristol County. So for those of you who are not familiar with Rhode Island, Bristol County is the cities or towns of Bristol, Warren, and Barrington. It's a nice area. It's on a peninsula. It tends to be very desirable. People really like living there. Barrington is probably the nicest, is considered the nicest, followed by Bristol, followed by Warren. But any of these three towns, really are desirable places to live. So what I've done here is I've compiled a view. Once again, this is a way to look at things, not the way to do it. There are many, many, many different ways to evaluate real estate. This is just one that I tend to find helpful. So when you look at this, I've broken down the real estate sales, all 16 of them, into three separate categories. The first one is entry level. That is any property that is under $400,000. The second one is affluent housing, which is any property that is $400,000 to just under $700,000. And finally, luxury is anything $700,000 and above. Now, depending on your part of the country, depending on your part of even the state of Rhode Island, the area that you're in, luxury housing may have a different number attached to it. Typically, the way that I see it in Rhode Island, luxury housing generally is a starting price of $700,000, but as prices increase, that number can change. So what this does is this gives you a nice view of the various types, and it does a few things. The first thing it does is it gives you an idea of what has sold and the averages that we're seeing across those properties. So what do they have in common? So let's take the entry level versus the affluent for a moment. The average affluent home sold for $481,583, whereas the average entry level home sold for $293,750. So that kind of gives you an idea of, okay, if I'm going to buy an entry-level home in Bristol, Warren, or Barrington, how much approximately do I have to budget? And that number is going to have a standard deviation attached to it, but we don't have to go down that statistical rabbit hole. Just, it gives you an idea of, all right, I've got to be looking at around this many dollars. The affluent, if you're looking at the affluent one, you might be saying, okay, geez, all right, I've got to be prepared to spend upwards of $500,000 to get something. The other thing it will do is if you go across, it will show you not only the type of houses and show that this is split across many different houses, but it will also show you what size lot you're probably going to get and the number of beds, baths, and square footage that you're going to have, as well as whether or not you're going to get a garage and how many spaces. So let's say you've said to yourself, my wants are, I really need 2 bathrooms. I want to be in the East Bay. I need 3 bedrooms, and I want 1,500 square feet of living space. Well, if you're saying, and my budget's $300,000, what you got to look at is to say, geez, in the East Bay, based on the most recent sales, it may be challenging to find that. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it means that it may be challenging. And if you do find that, you're probably going to have to put some work into it. It also shows you, if you go across, the days on the market. That's what DOM stands for. How many days on the market until it's sold? And sometimes there are some outliers that change the numbers there. Like, for example, in the luxury, there was one that sat for 308 days. And what this chart doesn't show is the number of price cuts it took to get to that price. So Sullivan Lane started off, if I recall correctly, like 950 or 975,000, and it had a few price drops before it got to where it needed to be, and that's why it sat for such a long time. It's in a great area, but it took a while for that one to sell for whatever reason, and chances are, because it was a great piece of property, it probably was the price. If you go over and you look at the price per square foot, this is something where the averages become very interesting. You can look and you could say, all right, the average price per square foot was very similar across all three price ranges. And that goes to show you that, all right, as a starting point for evaluating your property values in Bristol County in Rhode Island, as of this moment, just looking at solds, not looking at anything else, not looking at condition, anything like that, you can look at it and say, okay, my starting point is probably $330 to $367 per square foot. You can see through the heat map on the side, the redder numbers obviously are higher dollar per square foot, greener lower dollars per square foot, and they are all only compared against each other in category. So if you look at that, you could say, all right, there are values, quote unquote, in price per square foot in every category. Every category has something that was less than $300 a square foot, and every category has something that was higher than $400 a square foot. So it doesn't mean that those people overspent on those houses. Those houses may have been in a more desirable area. They may have been in much better condition. They may have been recently refurbished. There could have been some special character of that house that you can't see. One of them may have had, a sauna or a jacuzzi tub, or a below or above ground pool, or access to a dock or a private neighborhood. There are all these things that go into the value of a home that you'd have to take into consideration. But what this view does show you is it shows you some similarities and characteristics, and it allows you to notice some trends. And this is only over a short period of time, but something like this can be valuable. Now, if you reach out to your average real estate agent, they won't have this because I custom make these. So if this is something that you are interested in for your area, you can absolutely feel free to reach out to me. My phone number is 401-500-2164. I can go ahead and I can get you something that looks like this for your area, probably within usually a few hours. I just need a couple hours to sit down and crunch the numbers and then find the best way to present it. Every area is a little different in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I do not have access to the MLSs in other parts of the country. I just have Rhode Island, just have Massachusetts. But that doesn't mean that your realtor can't create something like this. It's not hard to do, but most people just don't know how to pull the information the right way and then organize it into something that's useful. And if you are a realtor who happens to be watching this, who's watching this from another part of the country, and you'd like to know how I do it, feel free to reach out at the same 401-500-2164. You can also reach me at andrew.vittoria@kw.com. I will put that information in the comment field here, or in the description. So that's what we've got for you today, guys. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. I'm glad to help you. I love real estate. Looking at things like this is really interesting, and it's a lot of fun. And I hope all of you have enjoyed this too. Have a great day.